Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Nature Connection show with Lisa and Nancy, publishers of Big Blend magazines, and nature photographer Margot Carrera. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're excited to have Julie D. Suman back on the show. This is for our Nature Connection show, but you know it's also going to get into our Parks and Travel show because she's going to talk about an awesome river park up in Maryland that is really working to conserve and also increase the osprey population, osprey birds out there, beautiful raptors. And of course, Margot's here, but welcome, Julie. Welcome back, Margot. How are you, ladies?
Wonderful.
Good.
Happy to be
Good.
here.
Good to have you here. So I left the park's name off because I don't know how to pronounce it. So go for it.
Okay. So it's the Patuxent River Park,
Okay,
located
Patuxent.
near Bowie, Maryland.
Okay, so Patuxent. Okay, so
Yep.
last time you were on talking about Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens.
hmm
Well, not the last time, but the last time before that. Um, how far is it from there? Because it's kind of that whole region
Yeah,
is
it's
kind of
pretty
close.
much due east from Kenilworth. So Kenilworth is right inside the DC Beltway. And if you head out Route 50, maybe about a 30-minute drive, you can go to Patuxent River Park. So
Okay,
not,
cool.
not not far outside the DC Beltway.
Okay. And so this is an area that's really a park, but then also a birding population. You say it's an important birding spot and bird spot in regards to conservation. So I never thought of raptors, I mean the osprey raptors being in trouble, actually. We always hear about, condors and things like that,
Yeah,
but not often
yeah,
about osprey.
yeah. So the issues with Osprey actually go back to when DDT was being used in the late 60s, and then it was banned in 1972. And it was that chemical that was causing the eggshells to be very fragile in the newborn osprey, and so the osprey were unfortunately dying, and that led to a decline. And so the Chesapeake Bay region, specifically Patuxent River Park, played a big role back in that day in terms of helping to rebuild the osprey population by building man-made nests where they could come and or platforms for their nests to be able to rebuild that population. So today, the population is doing very well. It's not approaching endangered status, but there are some concerns that are starting to pop up due to overfishing.
Oh,
Yeah, so the osprey's diet relies on fish, and there's a particular type of fish called menhaden that's very fatty. It's a very heavy fatty fish that's a key part of their diet. And there's
hmm.
been overfishing of that species, and that is leading to a lack of food in the population. So the Patuxent River and other naturalists in the Chesapeake Bay area are monitoring this because it's a concern that it might impact the future of the osprey population.
Wow. And watching them fish is magical, man. I
Oh my
love
gosh.
watching them. Oh,
Yeah. If you've ever seen them, they have this masked face and these like really, sharp talons that are specially designed to snatch fish, from the water. They weigh about maybe 3 to 4 pounds, but they can actually pick up half of their body weight when they're
uh-huh.
looking to snag a fish. So it's quite spectacular.
Last year around this time, I think actually was more like March, April, we were in Maryland and Delaware area, and we were in Queen Anne's, Maryland, I
Mhm.
think it is.
Yeah.
And we were right on the water, and there was an osprey nest right there at the edge. And they were, and you could just see them, from a distance. You could walk up, but they would, the mama would squawk at you, and you didn't want
Yes.
to bug them. You wanted them to have, so it seems like even the residents are taking care of the osprey out there too. The people are starting to be aware and doing what they can.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, we're lucky in the Chesapeake Bay to have, an bald eagle population, lots of
Mhm.
wading birds and the ospreys. They actually migrate here. They're a migratory bird. And so they're here
Oh,
in Maryland from around March or so until they migrate in the fall. And you'll see them. They build nests in crazy places. You'll see them on top of like, light posts and things like that. But they will migrate and they come back to the same nest every year.
Mm.
And so you'll see them around in the Chesapeake Bay area. They estimate there's somewhere between 10 and 12,000 pairs of ospreys in the region.
Oh, wow. Wow. Margot, you have Osprey out in your area in San Diego, don't you?
Yes, I was when you said this was a topic, I was amused because I actually had a quite an experience with an osprey. I used to live on Lake San Marcos,
Mm.
and lakefront was my front yard, and there were boat docks, and there was a sailboat in front of our house. And one day I went out, and on top of the sail mast was an osprey.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was quite regal and it was quite big. And I had never seen it. I knew it wasn't a hawk, although they do call them, what do they call them?
A
Uh,
fish hawk.
fish hawks. Thank you. Um, so in some way, you would think they might look like one, but they're very different. I had never seen a bird like this before. And I was just so amazed. I took several pictures. I was looking before the show to see if I could find it. I have so many pictures. I have thousands and thousands of pictures. I didn't find the osprey, so otherwise it would be in the background here.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
But what I want to say is it taught me, there's several things I want to say about it, but it taught me um, one day that you know how when you're intuitive or and you think, oh, I'm faking it. I must be faking it. Well, I had never seen this bird before, and didn't know what it was called, didn't know the name of it. And I was talking to my husband, and I said, I saw this amazing bird, and I just don't know what the name of it is. And I just went silent, and all of a sudden I heard in my head, Osprey. Well, I have never even heard the name of it before. It's not
Oh.
only not seen it, but not heard the
Ooh,
name
it's
of
your
it
spirit
before.
guide. Ooh.
I know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so I went we did have a bird book. Somebody had given me that when we moved to the lake. And I looked up Osprey, and sure enough, that's what it was. And so I said, well, I do have I am intuitive, you know. So I'm not faking it because no way I would have thought of that name. But yeah,
Oh.
so it's dear to my heart. But the other thing I want to say based on the lake experience, is that the fishermen there and fishermen on all lakes need to be careful when they cut their lines and they cut their
Mm.
yeah, or they leave, they'll cut their hook off. And
Mm.
we used to go kayaking on the lake and picking up the hooks that the
Mm.
fishermen had cut up. Because
Yeah.
one day I came outside, and I hate to say this on the show, it's very negative. It was a hard experience, but it's important to know that a bird got caught on a line, and then it tried to fly up to the tree, and
Oh,
you
Oh,
no.
got it. It hung itself. It died.
Yeah, that
It died
that's
from
yeah.
the
mm,
wire hanging on the tree. So please, fishermen, enjoy the osprey, but
yeah.
that's their territory,
Yeah.
and they go in that water, and just be mindful if you're going to cut your
I see
um,
that everywhere in
thing,
all the
pick it
parks we
off.
go to where there's fishing. And, I'm not against people fishing and eating and doing what they do,
No.
but I see that as being some of the biggest trash out in the
Mm,
water, these lines, which all kinds of animals are going to get hurt. And those little red balls are always hanging in a tree. It's like you try to get a nice picture to show people, come to this beautiful park and all the, fisherman trash. So I'm not knocking fishermen. I'm being like you, Margot.
yeah.
It's mean. I mean, Julie, is that part of what they're trying to do, not only on the overfishing side, but also watching that kind of the trash
Yeah,
part?
certainly. I mean, they have, the naturalists there. They're out, or they're actively, going through the waterways and, maintaining the water, and also, removing trash, but also planting, grasses. Like they've planted rice seed, for example, in Patuxent River to help, with other species of birds that migrate there. So they're very active. That area is called Jug Bay, and it's about a 2,000 square mile refuge where they're actively making sure that the environment's safe for everybody that's there, from the turtles to the birds and things like that.
Oh, cool. But
Yeah.
then you also have things where the humans can enjoy themselves there, right? Too. So there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
balance.
It's an active space, so you can launch a kayak. There's boat launches. There's trails along the waterway as well. So yeah, it's a very it's open to the public, and you're able to enjoy that. The naturalists will do some tours, like for example, you can go out with them while they're in the summertime. They banned the osprey, the chicks. So in about this time, they're old enough to be banded, and so you can go with them and observe that
Oh, wow.
and stuff. So you need to call to make a reservation there. I think you have a link to Patuxent River. If you dig through that, you can call and make a reservation to go out on a pontoon boat with one of
Mm,
the naturalists and see them in
I want to
action.
go.
It
I
was
want to
fun.
go.
I got to do it. I mean, I got to hold a baby osprey. I mean, it was super cool.
Uh, I,
So,
I, and that's a good point. You've got a great article with awesome photos, and everyone that's on nationalparktraveling.com, but also it's in the Maryland section. It's linked in the episode notes, and I'll also put a link directly to the park so people can go right there. But I was just thinking, Margot, you got to get in there and go kayaking. You got to go across to
Uh,
Maryland now.
do you know that they they stole our kayaks on Lake San Marcos?
Oh, no.
oh,
But I did want to say something that you had mentioned about the uh, putting in the grasses around the lake. And
mhm,
because for breeding and for nesting, they need the material from the grasses to make their nests.
mm,
And like at Lake San Marcos, we have gardeners that like make it so clean and so, they don't leave leaves behind, they don't leave twigs behind. And we noticed that we also had swans on the lake and they weren't mating. And I looked up, I did some research and I told the board, you have to plant grass around the edges. You can't just make it nice and clean and you know, for the humans, you need to actually have an edge around the water, and you actually have to leave some twigs down there for birds
Nesting.
and animals to put their nests together.
yeah,
So if
Mm,
anyone lives around a river or a lake, be mindful
yeah.
of what you're taking away if you do that.
no,
That's a really good point.
yeah, it's true. Now I remember going up to some of the osprey nests, and they'll literally pick up anything to make a nest. You'll see,
Hmm.
bits of string and whatever they put together, and the nests are actually quite large too. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You need to make sure that we respect the surrounding environment so they can thrive or breed or do what needs to be done. So,
That's cool. I mean, I love that this is seems like the community and the conservationists are working together and coexisting in this
mhm.
park. Do they
Yeah.
do any kind of educational programs? I know you're saying you could go out with a naturalist, but any for kids and for youth to get involved in to understand what's in their backyard?
Yeah, so I know at the visitor center they have some diorama, some educational material.
Cool.
They have a video there where you can see the osprey, like an osprey cam. And I don't recall a specific program that when I was there, but I think they have the opportunity to do educational
Mm,
events like that. So certainly, I'm sure they could arrange for something like that. And in addition to the wildlife there, there's a few other museums that are there. There's a rural life museum and a few other historical plantations in the property or
awesome.
around the Jug Bay area as well. That it might be interesting for both adults, but also an opportunity for learning for kids too.
Mm. I think
Yeah,
getting out on the water is a really cool way. It's gentle if you do a
yeah.
kayak.
Yeah.
Is the boating speed boating or kind of like paddle boats or like what is the boating side like?
Yeah, so they do allow fishing, I think, in there. So you do see some, motorized boats, but not like any sort of speed boats. But you see paddle boards and kayakers as
Oh,
well.
cool.
So
Man,
um
power to those paddle boarders. No way. It's not happening. All I can think is I'll be stuck on my knees. I'll probably fall over. I tried to go surfing once, and that I just everybody just saw my butt in the air hugging the surfboard. That's
no,
bumping into
I
the
tried
pier.
paddle boarding once. I definitely do not have the core strength to
No,
be able to paddle board. I fell right off.
no, I don't know. It was not a pleasant scene. What
Yeah,
so I'll watch others do it. But that's
yeah,
cool because I think there's something kayaking it what a way to watch birds, you know?
yeah.
Because you're floating and you're gentle and if you're not like loud and, boisterous, if you're just chilled out, they kind of look at you like, oh, another floating bird. It's just a big one, but you can see egrets and herons and all of that.
Mhm.
And it's just I think if we could get kids out in kayaks,
Yeah,
that is a really cool way for them to experience nature and start to become stewards. That's the
yeah.
whole thing with these kinds of parks because you're still in an urban setting. And that's the cool thing too.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally literally a suburb of of DC, and
Yeah.
you can get right out there and paddle. There's all these little like crevices and little tributaries within the waterway that you could go and explore. So, when I
Cool.
was there, I saw herons and various species of ducks. So there's a lot of opportunity to get up close and enjoy. I
Oh,
think we saw a kingfisher as well. I remember,
cool.
so yeah, there were all kinds of, opportunities for observing birds. Good for the little ones, but also good for the birders, those hardcore birders that are out
Hmm.
there. So
Yeah, no, no, that's awesome. Every time you get in a water area, it's like magic.
yeah,
Uh, we,
absolutely.
we we did get to some parks when we were out there, and I think it was a couple state parks we went to, and they were beautiful. I mean, it was just
Yeah,
there's a nice balance of the parks out in your area of
yeah,
understanding urban nature and coexistence, and
there are.
having some recreation for people too.
For sure, for sure. And if you're willing to go a little bit further, even out on Maryland's eastern shore, there's some national wildlife refuges, Blackwater Wildlife
Oh,
Refuge,
I love
which is
Blackwater.
amazing. A
Yeah,
lot of great, just across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, there's another park called Terrapin Nature Park, has some great trails to explore. So we
and
are
terrapin
really
turtles.
lucky. Yes, terrapin turtles.
Yeah.
No, we're very lucky in the Baltimore DC metro region that we have access to the Chesapeake Bay and all of the
Mm.
wonderful, waterways and natural resources. So
Well, that area too. I mean, we went to Blackwater when we
mhm.
were in we were in Easton,
Okay,
Maryland, and
yeah,
so we were staying at Hummingbird Inn, beautiful bed and breakfast, Victorian, and the
yeah,
the owner, he is the most extraordinary chef. Like I know we shouldn't be talking about bacon on the nature show, but like he candies bacon like this big. Just saying. Anyway, we went to Blackwater there. I remember you and I talking about that.
yeah,
And it was sunset was coming, and I mean it was the drive and just oh my gosh, we saw a beautiful bird life and a lot of herons. But then there's another one we went out and is it Bombay Hook National
yes.
what?
Bombay Hook's out in
Oh my
Delaware,
God,
but yeah,
yeah, and
Bombay Hook
the
is
fall
also.
colors and
Hmm.
swans. You guys had tons of swans. Oh my
Yeah, yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, so that
Oh,
whole part that the eastern shore there, Delaware, Maryland, and the Virginia, were all part of that mid-Atlantic flyway. So, in spring and fall, we get great migratory, birds and that are
mm.
passing through. And yeah, it's Bombay Hook is another great place for nature and for birding too.
Just all those swans, I was like, wow, I've never seen so many like that. It was
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely awesome. So this is a good time for you to be on the show. I love it because people can go out and enjoy summer, but get geared up for fall if you're traveling from out of state.
yeah,
I'll go
yeah.
see some nature.
Yeah, I mean, Patuxent River is open through the fall. It's a good time to see different migratory ducks that are
Mm,
coming through. In addition, the osprey may be migrating south, but there's other wildlife that would be there. You can still get out on the water. It's pretty warm still here in Maryland come September, October, so plenty of good time to be outside.
mm. So, you know, Julie, you just went all over England, right? You just came back
Yes.
from the British Isles and you went to our family's island, the Isle of Man.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes,
Yeah.
apparently we have a history of a castle, the Horates, which is now and that we bred Manx cats or something. I don't know. And this we have witches in our family that were burned at the stake for talking to
Oh,
animals in our
okay.
history over there, and because they thought we
Yeah.
were nuts. But yeah, yeah, apparently two to three witches, one warlock. Anyway, it gets a little wonky woo woo.
Wow.
So when you
They
were
did.
there, I'm like glued to your pictures on Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, she's in our family zone. I
I
should have
wish I would
told
have
you.
known ahead of time. Yeah, the Isle of
Oh,
Man was very cool. Um,
yeah. What was the
and
bird life? Because I remember when we were in the Channel Islands between England and France, um, there were puffins, and I flipped out, because that to
yeah,
see a puffin is just so cool. Um,
unfortunately, I did not see. I have yet to see a puffin live, actually. I know they have a puffin population. You couldn't go into like a store or something without seeing a puffin toy or a puffin magnet
oh,
or
okay.
whatever. But I unfortunately didn't get a chance to see any puffins, and I don't know if it's because the weather wasn't that great or what. But unfortunately, not. We did some. I think we did a castle. We did a train ride in the country. But I don't think I got any chances to really do some good birding.
Mm.
So I just have to go back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask, like, what was it?
Yeah.
Because the coastline out there is amazing. It's so
Yeah.
different, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Different than the
No,
Chesapeake. Hmm.
for sure, for sure. And it's a different temperature. It's actually very temperate, believe it or not. It's
Hmm.
not. It wasn't. It was like 50. We're in June. It was 50 to 55 degrees. So it wasn't. And that's about what the temperature is all year round.
Mm.
There. So
That's because they're up. Yeah. Margot, have you been up? You've been to England, right?
I have been to England, but I was 16.
Okay. It's time to go
It was
back.
on a photography trip too.
Oh,
oh,
wow.
cool.
See?
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
well, there's a lot there to
Oh,
photograph. I mean, that architecture and the
Yeah.
beautiful.
nature, the Lake District. Did you go to the Lake
Mhm.
District?
I
No.
did.
You did, but see,
Yeah.
I was there when I was a kid, like, and then 19 when we left South Africa to come here. But that the Lake District is
Beautiful.
just gorgeous. You have to go
Hmm.
Yeah.
back, Julie.
I know it's on my list. I have a good friend that lives in Northern England, and I'd love to be able to get her to take me over and go to Lake District sometime. Yeah,
Cool, cool.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for putting this park on our radar. Radar, tell everybody the name of the park again. I can't
Patuxent.
pronounce anything in
Yeah,
your area, right?
yeah. Well, we do have a lot of, I guess, Indian names, but Patuxent River Park.
Okay, so everyone check that out. And links again are in the episode notes. Thanks for joining us. It's been cool to talk about birds and ospreys and to kind of give that awareness.
Yeah,
Just in closing, there's, the condor programs that we have, like in California. Um,
yeah,
it stems back to the same kind of thing with you were talking about their
yeah,
shells, but
yeah.
it's not just DDT. It's lead ammunition, lead
Mhm.
bullets.
Oh,
That
yeah,
when people hunt and they ended up with in Pinnacles National Park area, they had a bunch of hogs and people were shooting them and culling, or however you want to say it, and using lead bullets. And we still have lead bullets allowed
mm,
to this day. And I
mm,
don't understand why we need them. If you're going to hunt, maybe try a bow and arrow or something. But the lead is toxic to birds and bald eagles.
um,
We almost lost bald eagles over these
mm,
bullets. So
good.
it's not healthy for the waterways. When the carcass, the vultures get it, that's how the condors got sick. And so we lost a huge populations all from one thing that whenever that legally we can't seem to strike it down. I don't know
Mm,
what. So when people see that kind of bill float around, please sign no, no lead bullets because
absolutely.
it's killing so many birds, and then you wonder why we have so many mosquitoes or so much roadkills on the side of the road and
Yeah,
nothing eating it. It's because you've killed everything. Well,
yeah,
so
yeah.
hunt
No, no,
hunt
we need to create
responsibly.
awareness. Yeah,
Yeah.
and even from fishing standpoint, like I mentioned, the Mendenhall fish are they're used to make fish oil capsules, and
Oh,
so
that's
there's
right.
limits on fishing, but maybe not enough, and so that's an active area where people in this area are paying attention to now. So
Very
I think
cool. So good,
yeah,
good attention to detail of like what we, all these little pockets, every place has a
Mhm.
specific issue,
Yeah.
and so it's really good to know about it. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, Julie.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you,
opportunity.
Margot.
Thank
Always
you.
fun. Always fun with both you ladies. And everyone,
All
again,
right.
nationalparktraveling.com is the website to go to. Margot, tell everybody your Etsy store.
Margot, Margot, Carrera, Carrera.etsy.com.
Yay, yay. And Julie, the best place for people to follow you is on Instagram, right?
Yeah, Instagram, it's C by Julie D, SEE by Julie D on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page as well, and I'd love for you to drop in once in a while and check out my photos and where
Oh
I'm
man,
going.
it's fun.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
fun
like
to
to see
follow
them.
Julie. Yeah, I'll make sure you
Yeah.
guys are all connected. Thanks,
Great. Nice to
ladies.
meet you, Margot.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Nature Connection Show. Follow us at bigblendradio.com and keep up with Margot at margotcarrera.etsy.com.